Lilac a day, keep demons away, or not. I am finally ready to stop the torture of myself and finally give you the final ranking and the rundown of the note of the year, lilacs. Rare, nostalgic, impossible to extract via any traditional ways. Lilac is the scent that will forever be mysteriously simple. It is the anchor from many childhoods that keeps evading the description. A number of brands have tried. Some succeeded, some not so much so. And I think one of the biggest challenges and why we don't see as many lilac perfumes on the market is that this is such an emotionally charged olfactory profile, and at the same time it's so easy to get it to be too much like a room spray and much less of a perfume. So you constantly have to be balancing the how naturalistic and believable is the scent versus how much do you really conceive it as a work of art, as a olfactory artwork, something that you would wear as a personal perfume. And the moment it becomes more perfumey, it loses its lilac-y, wondrous, miraculous appeal, nostalgia of our youth. But the moment you make it too believable, you almost lose the magic at the same time, just the same. As some of you guys know, I have made my prophecies for the notes, the top notes of the year. You can watch that video separately. And one of the notes that I prophesed is going to be the key floral that we all will be circling around, and the brands will continue to dazzle us with their attempts to really get it right, are the lilacs. At first glance, it seems there are almost no perfumes that you can find with lilacs. Roses, jasmines, tuberose. My name is a legion in that case, right? It's so many options. So it's like too many to even make a single top 10 video. It's just almost like it's a doomed mission. But with lilacs, things get very murky very quickly. And yet, just like with the question that I get, why aren't there any good books on perfume? There are actually dozens. And the same with lilac. If you start digging, you will find. So let's start the review. And I will sprinkle in kind of my learnings about this part of the olfactory design. There will be a few rants, not gonna lie, because it's never easy, right? It's never that simple. It's never just about the fragrance. There's always some kind of drama. Some of these you have already heard about, but I haven't given you the review. Some of these might be new. I'm gonna try to go with the price tiers from the most affordable to the most expensive, because my personal story with lilacs, beside the usual, here's the silver tier childhood, lilac bushes, that's all true and good. But I have anchored the smell of lilacs in my life for more creative workouts and kind of choreography building that I do for aerial arts. It's part of the circus arts. I don't know if you've seen like aerial hoop, aerial silks. This is what I do. And lilacs were my go-to scent when I knew that I would be spending some extended period of time in the gym, jamming, playing, trying to get a sequence together, right? And you kind of want to feel a little bit more creative, a little bit more playful, a little bit more childlike. And I ran out of my favorite lilacs. We'll talk about it just in a minute. And that kind of prompted the search. So some of the considerations personally for me, where I embarked on this apparently endless journey, was that I wanted it to be very naturalistic but not boring, and I wanted to be fairly affordable. So one of the options that immediately came to my attention was the famous German cologne brand, Kölnisch Wasser. I hope I'm saying it. Kölnisch Water, I presume that's the name. And they they've been around forever. They're very affordable. So they make these like a wide variety of just pleasant eau de toilettes, pleasant different kind of waters. Think Jo Malone, but more affordable. And they have a lilac, and I decided to get it. So what's good about it, that truly about $10 to $15 a bottle, and you actually have to make a choice whether you want the one with a spray or a splash. I'm not sure what the splash would be good for, but it is an option for a lot of these. So what can I tell you? After much consideration and wear, I tried wearing all of these on my skin. I many times sprayed them on blotters, or as they're called in the United States, strips, and I sprayed them as room sprays just to get a little bit of more of a voluminous 3D feel, how the scent lives in space. So I've given all of these today have been through a lot of testing by moi and some of my friends. And the consensus was that this is really not lilacs. Maybe in isolation, if you compare it with the tobacco scent, it is lilac-y. But if you put the 4711 Lilac Cologne in the lineup of lilac scents, it's just bewilderingly far from what it's supposed to be. So I would say it's more like a bright, simple, somewhat synthetic-y smelling freesia, kind of just like a spring floral. Well-rounded, a little bit annoying. All in all, this kind of, for me, poses the question if I would ever spend even $10 on getting any more of these. Even though there's nothing offensive about it, this kind of like mass market perfumes are really not made to be offensive or unique or in any way disturbing to anyone. But there's also their downfall most of the time. They're so generic and they lack olfactory playfulness and depth. And it doesn't take much training in perfume evaluation to say, most people will just say that, oh, it smells synthetic. That's what I got from it. Next one I've had for a while. This is actually my second bottle, believe it or not. I completely used up the first one, and this one is a third way through. And it is because the Purplelight by Salvador Dali is one of my top 3 favorite linen sprays. I prefer not to use any odorizing drying agents. Unfortunately, with laundry detergent, I don't get that much choice in terms of unscented, but I like Jean-Claude Delenau's, he wrote either in one of his books or in one of his interviews, once you start really working a lot with a lot of different scents, it's just like stylists who only wear black. You just start detesting any unnecessary infusion of scents in your daily life because it's just too much. It's just annoying. You don't want it to interfere with what you're thinking about or studying. So similarly, I want to have control over scents that surround me. They have to be properly aligned. I'm like such OCD. I probably come across like such a control monster. But it might be just a little bit true, Anyway, I do like to experience scents, not only on me, but also on different objects. But I crave for it to be a controllable and contextual experience. So the Purplelight by Salvador Dali is beautiful, soapy, kind of the musks that came from the detergent flavoring. That's the kind of fragrance it is. Actually, a friend of mine really loves it, and I regularly give her decants of the Purplelight. I myself don't really wear it as a personal fragrance. To me, it's too soapy. For me, there's too much detergent, typical detergent smell that I feel in it. But all in all, as a room spray, especially the linen spray, it's just divine. But is it the best lilac fragrance? No, but it is very affordable. Next was suggested to me by several subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, because this is truly an affordable gem. This is Pacifica French Lilac. I was lamenting that my favorite lilacs, the one that I ran out of, were made by a very affordable Russian niche perfume brand called Brocard. And similarly to 4711, Jo Malone, and etc., they had a lot of seasonal collections. Some of them would stay around, some of them would go out of rotation. It's like any affordable experimental brand, including like in the United States, there is good chemistry. They used to be very prolific with their collections, now much less so. They're hits and misses, right? Like, and you buy one of these $10 spray bottles and you don't really think about it much. And they just stumbled upon the perfect, the most believable lilac and romantic and interesting to observe lilac scents in history. This was exactly the lilacs from my childhood. They absolutely nailed it. And I don't think they could possibly predict the astonishing success that they had with that very particular scent. But since all of the war stuff and the politics, I have absolutely no access to that whatsoever. So when I ran out, I was kind of really upset that I will most likely spend so much money and will never find something that's that fitting. And when you guys told me about French Lilac by Pacifica, and I got it and I sprayed it, I was in heaven. It is very believable, somewhat rosy lilac. Let's look at the mixture of floral notes as they are reported by their marketing team. So what they're saying that you get heliotrope, hyacinth, magnolia, nectarine, and ylang-ylang. I would have thought that was rose, but I think it's heliotrope. This like very well-rounded, almost creamy kind of sweetness. It's very souffle, but in contrast to Purplelight, Pacifica French Lilac is not soapy. And it's not too sweet like, it's not too gourmand like Lilac Love by Amouage, which I'm not even going to include here because I think it's too far from really being a contender. And I have talked about it at length in previous videos. So French Lilac by Pacifica is truly just an amazing find. And it doesn't cost that much. I actually really enjoy their form factor of their bottles. They have this a little bit of a chemical, like an alchemy lab feel to them, just a little bit. And the joy and the longevity and the believability of lilacs here is just 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10. And that kind of brought me to a thought that there are probably hundreds of lilac types. And every type of a lilac that you in particular were exposed to when you're small might smell ever so subtly different from something that I smelled in my childhood. So for me, it was very believable, creamy, sweeter lilac scent, but it was not quite what I remembered. And here we are to the one that started it all. This very fragrance, Romantica by Brocard. I just gave up on ever smelling it again. And then I got a package from my subscriber. I don't know how she smuggled it in. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just like, I took it and I ran with it. This is it. Every time when somebody tells me, oh, these are fresh, watery lilacs, I was like, but are they? But are they as fresh and as watery and as believable as Brocard Romantica? I doubt it. Only in comparison, I can tell now that I have one extra backup bottle of Romantica, I can tell that Pacifica, even though is truly a gem, I would call it like a sister subtype of lilacs that is slightly more creamy sweet, just ever so slightly. This is the gem. This, like, there's no competition. There's something so delightfully romantic and flowy, and yet the Romantica doesn't take you toward any other flower. It stays believably but imaginatively, and it's like a flute. It just flows so nicely. So nicely. To this day, not much can compare with it. So I'm sorry, guys. I hope it's not too upsetting that I just can't, nothing can beat it in terms of this whole magical combination of factors of being believable, naturalistic, fairly, I wouldn't say it's the longest lasting, but it's like fairly long lasting, and it's just really well wearing as a personal perfume. This is where it's at. It's just, there's no competition, despite, as you can see, my many efforts. The next one we're going to talk about is probably much less affordable, but still a designer fragrance. I went for its flanker. This is Issey Miyake Drop, and this is Drop Issey. Oh my god, this is a blue flanker. They have green, blue, and original. I was trying to choose which drop because all of them are devoted to lilacs. The white drop, the original, people say there's too much of kind of whipped cream in it, and it really detracts from the value that you're looking for in a lilac scent. So everybody online was saying that get yourself a Fraiche, I think it's called, a Fraiche, the blue version, because that's watery, breathing lilacs right after the rain. So I did buy it, and that was actually not that cheap. It was okay, but like, it was not super affordable. And oh my god, it's been a while since I smelled something that synthetic. It's just like me calling this cologne, this very cheap German cologne, synthetic, is almost me being bullying an honorable attempt at lilacs compared to Drop Fresh. This is just a nuclear bomb of God knows what. I bet if you add it to bleach, you will stop smelling bleach altogether. I think it will sustain almost any other chemical substance when you add it to it. It will not fall apart. It's such a screamish, in your face. It's a big disappointment, at least for me. I haven't encountered such disappointing artifice in designer perfumery in a while. I heard that Issey Miyake has kind of its highs and its lows, just like any designer brand. But man, this is just not something I would expect from minimalism or, like conceptual designer at all. This is bewilderingly bad, in my opinion. I decided just to give it one last shot and to see if anything here should save it from the judgment. But they do say rain notes, they do say watery notes, and they say lilac, and it's just not there. It's just obnoxiously synthetic, screamish floral. That's just freaking bad, guys. That's not good. Not good at all. Is all Issey Miyake like that? Like, should I expect it to be unapologetically synthetic? To give you an example, Moschino is always unapologetically synthetic, but it's fun and you kind of like know what to expect. But for some reason, to call this watery, fresh lilacs and to get this, oh no. No. And now we're jumping in price again. This was a subscriber recommendation and the brand that I haven't considered and haven't really heard much about to this day until I got their Lilac Exquis. So Jacques Fath is a designer that recently revamped, as far as I understand, their perfume collection, and they have modest success in niche circles, but I haven't really seen them come up with a global marketing campaign, so I don't think many people know about them really. Have you, let me know, have you heard about Jacques Fath? Have you tried anything? How did you learn about it? Because for me, it was a genuine surprise when I learned that they have perfumery, and within the last 15 years, they had new releases. I was so surprised. Lilac Exquis was recommended by subscribers as the most imaginative and romantic lilacs. And the moment I smelled it, I agreed. Is it the most believable naturalistic lilac? Not necessarily, because it's more of a duet than a monologue. But man, it is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous, floaty, deep, and yet light flowing scent. I am so in love that I just want to study it more. Every single time I wear it, it's this is the floral of the year. And that came as a surprise because compared to Brocard Romantica, I can't call it the most realistic lilac, but it is the most beautiful lilac-inspired niche perfume. It's just unbelievably beautiful. Let's see. And I don't think it's just a hyacinth that really produces this miraculous effect. There is something really refreshing in its opening, and I think it is the blueberry and bergamot, whatever those zesty, slightly citrusy / berry notes. They are so thinly weaved. You know, like those berry perfumes that just scream berry or syrupy to you? This is not that. And it's not heavy on citruses like a lot of colognes are to kind of overpower the story. It's just almost like a sparkle. It's just a glimmer at the beginning that just sparkles and opens it up toward lilacs in such a glorious, poetic way. Here we have a whole bouquet of notes. And maybe they're all there, maybe not, but this is the most imaginative watercolor sketch on lilacs. And all of these notes together also give it a bit of that watery after the rain ozonic feel that I did not find in the drop Fraiche whatsoever. So I expected drop of Fraiche to smell like this, like a Lilac Exquis. It does have a little bit of this sharpness and ozonic freshness. And yet, what a romantic, beautiful, flowing scent. If you are concerned that lilacs are only for girls, this can be layered with something a little bit more woody or like a little bit more base substantial, just to utilize this most beautiful top notes in the opening. It can totally work on anyone. But this is something I just want to spray everywhere. And I spray it on the clothes, on the linens, in the room, in my purse, on my hair, everywhere. Lilac Exquis is my top favorite of everything I'm going to show you today. And it's not even the most realistic lilac. If every perfume by Jacques Fath is that glorious, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble, guys. If anybody got any decants to share from Jacques Fath, please do. I'm happy to send something juicy your way as well. because I need to learn more now. This is just, wow, blown away. It's not easy. It's not easy to mesmerize me with the floral. I've seen a few really genius florals, you know what I mean? Like, I know my florals. I know my way around floral notes. And yet, Lilac Exquis by Jacques Fath, what a beauty. Our next lilac contender is Aerin Lilac Path. That's probably one of the first ones I gravitated towards when I started exploring different lilacs, because I thought Aerin is not too expensive, not too cheap. They are kind of known for really being faithful to aesthetic of believable, deep, interesting scents. So like probably their lilac is what I'm looking for. It's not as expensive as Frederic Malle, and yet maybe it will be a little bit more interesting. That's something that costs, $10 in a drugstore, whatever. So that was almost the first one that I got in my search for perfect lilacs, and I got it secondhand from Mercari, so it's half empty already. And as much as I enjoyed the zesty green opening of it, because again, if you look at the description, they all are described nearly identical. All of them are somehow supposed to be ozonic, fresh, green, and romantically floral. And yet, when you put them against each other, I wouldn't call this a very watery fragrance. Even more so, if you look at this description, it's to me much more zesty, kind of not like freshly cut grass, not in a literal sense, but it's very zesty green. And that greenness potentially is galbanum, maybe angelica too. It kind of dominates this situation and is supported by, I think it's orange blossom. I would call it more typically what you would call neroli, this scratchy, rough orange blossom that, in my view, mostly dominates the composition, and lilacs are secondary, if not tertiary, in this particular story. I did enjoy wearing it, but when it comes to lilac-inspired scents, the ones that are more flowy and more complex, I would probably gravitate towards Lilac Exquis by Jacques Fath. It's just much more masterfully and beautifully implemented. Despite most people really looking for long-lasting florals, the loudness and the greenness of neroli / galbanum here, to me, really doesn't help because the lilac is in the name. So I would really appreciate if this was actually lilac first, and this is more like lilac third, if at all. If you compare this with a scent that has no notion of lilac whatsoever, you will say that this contains an allure of a lilac flower. However, in a direct lineup, in a comparison, not so much. And yet, I wear it with pleasure. Every time when I apply it, I'm good for a couple of hours to go because it's very, very bright and long lasting. So I do recommend it as a lilac-inspired floral, but since I have all of this already to choose from, not my first choice. And yet life would not be complete if I didn't mention again Olivia Giacobetti's and Passant created for Frederic Malle, the most expensive lilacs you can find on the market. If you really feel like burning money, Olivia Giacobetti is a witch. The way that Olivia works with floral notes, almost nobody else does. She truly mastered some unbeatable skill when it comes to make these watercolory sketches of most romantic and believable, kind of naturalistic smelling florals. And they're always very light and yet complex at the same time. And Passant is no exception. It's kind of funny that it's not the first perfume. If you noticed all the pyramids, they all say fresh and watery. Yet in reality, when you actually pin them against each other, very few of them really are in comparison, because the way that Lilac Exquis by Jacques Fath executes this kind of sparkly opening, some like carbonated soda water freshness, it's unparalleled. And the way that Brocard Romantica portrays like the wet lilac bushes after the rain, like everybody else can just take a walk in the park, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, no guys, you need to like define ozonic, define watery, define fresh. You're not even close. And similarly, en passant, I do use it a lot. I do enjoy it a lot. It is a beautiful lilac scent. That said, to me, this is much more well-rounded, powdery, and almost like flowery. Flower, not in a way of baking flour. It's just, there's some kind of like baking flour aspect to it that makes it more demure, a little bit more powdery, a little bit more, I don't want to say irisy, but just a little less out there and a little bit less botanical. The way that en passant executes lilacs is way more civilized, a little bit more, I would dare say, even like city-like, because that's the kind of comforts you really miss when you're in a big city. When you're out in the nature itself is so vivacious, is so full of smells that you don't necessarily crave this type of demure, understated, civilized elegance. And this is what I find in en passant, which makes it a great perfume to wear, and at the same time not as breezy, not as singing as Lilac Exquis. In my view, their descriptions on paper are so close that you would think that they have to be clones of each other. But to me, en passant is actually more of these cuddly, nudie, slightly demure and powdery scent. And Lilac Exquis is the watery, ozonic, fresh, sparkling lilacs type of a scent. Both of them are really beautiful, but I gotta say that Lilac Exquis just stole my heart. And also, Frederic Malle costs, what is it, $300 now? It is a bit of a snobism and maybe hypocrisy to say that, but it's hard to justify a floral, a light everyday floral, for $300. I completely understand just how ridiculous that sounds. But I'm sure I'm not the only one who has this kind of prejudice in terms of what olfactory profile is worth what money. Please let me know what you think about olfactory profiles and the prices. I do find that I am less likely to be shelling money for just a usual cologne or light floral than for a gourmand or a spicy fragrance. There is a bit of a bias, at least in my thinking about it. I'm not saying that it's right. It's just the way it feels. Maybe because the occasions when I wear them, I don't know. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about it. Because en passant deserves its praise, and yet it would not be my first choice by any means. Well, the good news for you, the bad news for me, I had to buy all of these blindly just based on descriptions or your recommendations in order to make this video. The good news for you is that you can sample them all without breaking a bank. I'll leave a link below, and I'll even leave a super sweet discount code so you can, save some money and try some amazing lilacs. And I do find that comparing them all side by side was invaluable experience. It is very easy to call something a lilac or X if you're only sampling it in either in isolation or by contrast. Yeah, like I add any dark woody gourmand here, and any of this will be an amazing lilac in comparison. But if you really dive into it, and I bet if I actually had access to the formulas and saw the similarities and differences and how the formulas were executed, because as mentioned before, lilacs are not it's a so-called silent flower, meaning that there are no traditional way of extracting an essence that will contain its aromatic molecules when you smell them. So what scientists, perfumers, chemists do, that they analyze the headspace. It's pretty much the air around the flower. They do a spectroscopic analysis. They identify which molecules are the most prevalent, and based on that, the hypothesis is not of a knowledge. Its hypothesis is, if you combine the most prevalent molecules, if you manage to produce them some other way and combine them in a perfume as an odorant, then you will be able to faithfully reproduce the smell of lilacs. And yet to this day, it remains a noble challenge. Why? Because the way that we perceive scents is non-linear. It's very rare. It happens, but it's very rare for one molecule to be able to faithfully to reproduce a smell of any given object or phenomenon. Not only that, but even if you add the top 5, top 10, even if you add them and more or less estimate at the same concentration, you might not get the same profile, because small changes and small combinatorics between all of those components shifts the overall impression that we get when our nose and our olfaction system fully processes everything that we sniff in. Fascinating stuff, for sure. I know some of you are like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? This is what I'm trying to say. That I have given it several months of my life and much of my hard-earned money. And I'm here to say that if you can find Romantica by Brocard, you will not regret it. And as I said, I created a massive lilac sampler for you. So take advantage of that while you can. In the absence of such, the most affordable and believable option that I managed to find so far is French Lilac by Pacifica. I feel like they got lucky with it, maybe. It's just unbelievably lucky composition for its price and for how easy it is to find everywhere. And the most imaginative, beautifully weaved in, complex lilac-centric perfume is gonna be Lilac Exquis by Jacques Fath. And here, I should have finished my mission for 2024 and say the top note of the year, lilacs. My mission is complete. You got your review. We're done. Not so easy. Just when I was preparing to film this final review, I learned that Cartier released their fragrance of the year. Guess what it was? Pur Lilas Lilacs. Cartier doesn't really release a lot of fragrances very often, which I really appreciate, which makes them collectible and worth studying. But the fact that they did an almost silent release, I haven't heard anywhere from them. There are no samples available anywhere. It's like the only place you can buy it is on Cartier website as of now. Hopefully later everywhere as well. So, and the way that Mathilde works with floral notes and the way that she distills and clarifies and conceptualizes every single olfactory design that she produces for Cartier as an in-house perfumer, it just makes me so intrigued. I am in pain. I have no access to it. I mean, okay, don't be ungrateful, Maria. I am very grateful that Cartier decided to honor my call of the flower of the year. I'm glad that Fragonard followed suit and did the same. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. But could you also maybe send me and my subscribers like a couple of bottles for a giveaway? Because it kind of hurts. It's like, thank you, but we're not gonna give it to you. Not cool. Not cool, Cartier. Come on, fix it. Fix it. What am I gonna do about it? I don't know. Nearly $300 per bottle of something I have no way of sampling. Giving that I have, how many? 10? Probably more. Including things that I've tried. Lilac scents already, it's a bit much. Let's face it, it's a bit much for a private collection. The future is uncharted. However, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know. I've heard that some people heavily recommended Zara lilacs. I couldn't find any of them, and at this point, if I can't easily find something, I try not to even go down that rabbit hole, because if I show you and you can't find it, it's kind of a satisfying experience for us all. If you can recommend any other lilacs or any lilac-y centric perfumes, I'm still open. Despite my better judgment, I'm still open. If any of you guys have any connection to Cartier and can get us a bottle to split, please do. I am so intrigued. I'm in so much pain. It would have, the review would have been complete with Pur Lilas by Cartier, wouldn't it? It's not here though. Not here. Well, somehow that means that probably later in the year there might be another lilac perfume review. I mean, I wouldn't complain if it happened, would you? We'll see. I'm not so patiently waiting for your comments down below, and so that you are not rushed by YouTube to jump to yet another universe of a different video, here is our smooth and kind of groovy outro song, so you have time to click on that like and subscribe buttons. Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey there, you've reached the end, but don't just depart. Hit like, subscribe, it's a way to take part. Your support, your love, it's an art. Together we grow, play our part in this chart. It's more than a clip, it's a bridge, a connection, no way to sustain. To fuel this direction, each like, each sub. A show perfection, we're in this together, seeking perfection. Like and subscribe, be the vibe, keep us alive. In this digital sea, it's how we fly. Your support is the core, the drive. In this world of content, we're the prototype. Donations, contributions that keep the lights on. Fueling our passion from dusk till dawn. It's not just content, it's a bond that's drawn with your head.